Hockey Town, it's a place where dreams are found. We fought so many battles here, now we're the ones that they will fear. The cup resides within our town, we won't stop no letting down. The cup is ours for all to drink, it's our time, let's rock this ring.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Hockey Town Rundown. You are here with us, your beautiful hosts, once again, Zack and Derek. Happy Sunday, Derek. How's your day going so far?
I've been pretty good so far with how the Red Wings have been doing. We're back and watching some hockey, so I can't really complain too much, minus the fact that the Lions might have lost, even though they had over 500 rushing yards. But we're going to ignore that fact today. Red Wings are back, kind of. We got a game. We're at 2 games, and they were both wins. So I think I'm going to say this has been a positive weekend so far.
I will agree, minus the L. That was a pretty horrific game to watch. I was on the edge of my seat pretty much the whole time. But yeah, I will agree with you, Derek. It is a pretty good Sunday and overall a good weekend because the Detroit Red Wings are back with their prospect tournament this whole entire weekend up in Traverse City, Michigan. If you have never been, please take the opportunity to go there. It is a beautiful place to be. I'm sure Derek can attest to that. You got a place up there, buddy, that you can go to every once in a while, I think.
I can go up there whenever I want to, buddy. I just got done talking to my dad about when we're going up next. So let me tell you, it's a little salty I didn't go up this weekend, but, you know, it is what it is.
Hey, like I said, if you're not one of the first 50 people in line for one of those games, you're going to be standing, and it's not going to be fun unless you're like 6'5", like we mentioned before this recording. I had the pleasure of going last year. It was awesome, but once you're in the standing room trying to see around everyone and you're 5'8", like I am, it gets pretty difficult. So you can only see about half the action. But yeah, Red Wings hockey's back. Overall, hockey is back. Other teams were also doing their own little prospect tournaments, team practices, whatever you want to call them. But yeah, we are officially back. But before we continue on with this episode, we want to stop and say thank you for returning. If you are new, thanks for stopping by on this brand new episode. If you haven't already, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up if you're on YouTube, if you're on Spotify or Apple, why don't you go ahead and hit that follow button, rate us 5 stars. All those things are free, Derek. I don't know if you knew that. Why don't you go ahead and hit all those buttons?
I do pay for Spotify, but I guess liking our stuff, that's the free part.
Yeah, you could not pay for Spotify and you could still like all of our stuff and still hit that follow button, which is super awesome. So, Derek, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Now that the prospect tournament is over, which we will talk about later on in this episode, a good review of that, our overall thoughts and takeaways from this weekend and the 2 games that they played against the Dallas Stars. Training camp begins Thursday on the 19th. I'm very excited about that, Derek. Honestly, it means that we're getting that much closer to the regular season and even preseason, which you and I are going to be going to a game for to do a special episode that's upcoming. We're not going to spill the beans, but if you guys plan on going to any of the preseason games, we hope to see you guys there because we will be at one. But we can't tell you. So we'll make it a surprise. Derek, yeah, now that the prospect tournament is over, yeah, you got training camp upcoming. So looking forward to that and kind of going deeper into some Red Wings news. Let's kind of talk about Lucas Raymond, and then we'll talk about some of the other players that still have not signed yet. Elliot Friedman on his 32 Thoughts podcast said that he has asked about the Jarvis comparison, and an agent says that Raymond will come in higher. Stützle comparison has been made, and GMs around the league think Stützle is overpaid, and the Sens had to do it because of their situation. Thoughts on that real quick, Derek?
It's kind of what I feel like we've been thinking this whole time already. We know he's a little bit better than Seth Jarvis was at this point in his career already. We see the point production, and we see the Ottawa situation that is, even without knowing the intricate details of that, you can definitely see how it makes sense with how their structure of their team has been and the fact that it's like, well, we need this semi really good player and we're going to overpay him to stay right now. It makes sense. You had to do it. But at the same time, I see that money that came in for him where he might not been at that dollar amount yet. And we see Lucas Raymond coming in right now who might be at that dollar amount. I understand the comparison. It's not a bad one. I mean, do I wish it was a little bit lower, a little more team friendly? Yeah, which, that's probably the reason it's taking this long anyways. Because it sounds like they're both going for, like, both sides want that long-term deal, whether it's 7, 8 years, 6 years, and they're probably fighting over back and forth of probably $500,000 to $750,000 right now, which is probably the money that is most likely going to go to Bergeron. So we got to see what they get out of that so they know what to give him. It's a weird thing going on right now with the Red Wings, but obviously it's what has to happen with two cornerstone players. So,
and don't let Derek fool you. When he says Bergeron, or however he says it, he means Bergeron. He means well, though. Don't hate on him too much, everyone, because he had me confused at first too. But you're good, buddy. No, overall, yeah, for the Suns, they had to do what they had to do. I guess I will agree that it is a bit of an overpay considering that he was an RFA for the Ottawa Senators. They had full control over him. Granted, they wanted him to play, right? So they didn't want him to miss any games. And I'm sure that his agent did a really good job at forcing them to pay up for how good of a player he is, which he is a really good player, right? But that cap hit at 8.35, it is a little high. Maybe not right now, or maybe in a few years once he gets older and the cap keeps on rising. But once it was given, it was pretty high for someone who had only played, I think it was 2 seasons at that point, maybe just 1. So, yeah. And then you look at Seth Jarvis, and, if you can meet in the middle between Jarvis and the Stützle contract for Lucas Raymond, perfect. I love it. But at this point, I really don't know what Lucas Raymond really wants, and I'm kind of at the point where just kind of give him I hate to say it like this, give him whatever he wants just so that way he can sign faster. And I guess, Derek, this kind of goes into the next topic that I want to talk about. And I believe Carlo, yes, it was Carlo. Carlo actually brought this up in a group chat with us. Is will Moritz Seider, Lucas Raymond, and Jonathan Berggren be signed before the clock strikes midnight on Wednesday? What do you think?
I mean, asked me like 3 weeks ago, I would have thought it'd been done that week. So at this point, it's been months since the end of the season, and we're coming up on training camp right now. I would hope something gets done. It sounds like everything's moving in the right direction. They're just doing all the fine details right now, but how long is it going to take to file out those little details of a contract that it's going to go for 7, 8 years? Like, I understand it takes a hot second, but my God, we're getting really close to that deadline, and I want to know what's going to happen. Obviously, I'm pretty sure we're all fairly positive that Moritz Seider and Lucas Raymond are going to be on the Red Wings this season. We're all just waiting to know when they're going to be able to jump on the lineup. Like, is it going to be after your training camp, right before the season starts, or is it going to be after the season starts? Because if that happens, I'm kind of worried about what was going on in those talks.
So do you believe it's going to be before training camp starts, or do you not believe?
Oh, yeah, I kind of forgot that was the main question right now. I kind of went down the rabbit hole. Damn, I'm going to say I'm going to go with I hope so. I'm at a 60% positive that it will happen. I'll get 55% at this point because I'm just so up in the air. But I'm hoping it does happen. My thoughts are on the side it will happen before training camp does start, at least for the main two.
Okay.
Bergeron, I don't know. Burgers, let me tell you, that's a whole nother story, which, like I said before, I feel like they're just waiting for the main 2 contracts to get done, and whatever the Red Wings have left over in the cap, that's going to Burgers. So
now let's kind of exclude Berggren because it does sound or look like that Berggren is back in North America within Detroit, because he was seen posting on his Instagram that he was at the Detroit Tigers game, I believe yesterday. Carlo shared that with us too. So thanks for sharing that, Carlo. So I guess we can kind of exclude Berggren from this only because maybe he gets signed first before Seider and Raymond do, because I feel like Berggren, with his being, we know he's not going to be getting as long of a term or cap deal as Moritz Seider and Lucas Raymond. At least that's what it seems like to me. So I can't speak for you, Derek, but that's what it seems like to me. So it makes me wonder that if Berggren's going to get signed before those two, so excluding him right now, what does it mean? And it could mean nothing to you, but what does it mean if neither Seider or Raymond are signed before training camp starts and they miss a couple days, or let's say they even go into preseason, they missed all of training camp? What exactly does that mean to you?
Oh, there is some discomfort in that negotiations over contracts, because at this point we're talking about the two people that everyone believes is going to be the cornerstones for the forwards and the defensemen of the Red Wings for the near future. If this case doesn't get settled quicker than it should, I would have some worries on the back end, but I still believe the deal is going to get done. I just hope it doesn't impede their performance with if they do have to miss training camp or if they do have to miss a couple games. That's what I'm more worried about, especially into the actual season. Obviously, training camp's a big issue. That's where you come in, play with all your teammates, you get used to each other playing again, all that stuff after a couple months of being off. But you don't want to go in cold feet into the regular season like that. So I feel like the Red Wings know they have to get this job done. Steve knows this negotiating has to get done sooner than later. I'm just hoping for the best at this point. It's taking so long, and it just keeps you on pins and needles. Everyone thought this would have been done, 2 months ago? Nah, we're dragging it out the old Stevie Yzerman way to the very end, biting teeth and nails oh. But I do believe, I feel like it has to get done before training camp starts. I mean, I just, that's my hope right now. If not, I have a fear in my soul, but nothing too bad. Obviously, we know that they both want to be Red Wings for life. Well, they're going to be Red Wings for this near future. It just depends on how long that future is going to be before we have to pay them again.
Right. Yeah, I would say overall, I'm kind of in agreement with you. I don't think it's a big deal if they do miss a couple days in camp, but if they miss all of camp, that's when I'll start to get worried. And not in terms of are they going to sign or not, I guess impeding their overall performance on the ice, kind of like how you alluded to, right, Derek? Because we saw that with William Nylander. He kind of had not a down year, I guess you could call it, but he just had a very slow start, right, going into the season because he missed all of training camp, then he missed all of preseason. Yeah, he's working out, but he's not up to game speed with everyone else in the NHL, especially if you miss the first 15 to 20 games. That's a huge hindrance to you as an overall player. Sure, you may have gotten the contract that you wanted, but did you perform the way you probably were expecting to? More than likely not. So that's my only reason to be worried. The reason why I asked will Moritz Seider, Lucas Raymond, and Berggren be signed before midnight on Wednesday, the day before training camp starts, is because we posted that actually on Twitter. So far, there have been 124 votes in the last 5 hours. In those 124 votes, 56% of the people say Moritz Seider, Lucas Raymond, and Janne Berggren will be signed the day before training camp starts. Are you shocked by the amount of yeses, or are you more shocked by the amounts of no's on there? Out of 124, that's pretty much 50-50. It's close to 50-50. 56% say yes, 44 say no. What do you think about that, Derek?
I mean, I literally had that. I literally just said I was at 55% that they would sign by Wednesday. So I am in tune with all the followers voting. So it makes sense to me. It's that hope. We have that. We understand that there's that middle ground where it might happen, might not. But at least most people are on the side. Not most. More than the least amount of people are on the side that it'll get done. So we all got to be there and just hope for the best at this point.
I'm kind of to the point where I think Berggren's gets signed first, kind of like how I mentioned. You want to figure out what his is going to look like, and then you have to worry about Moritz Seider and Lucas Raymond. Because then if you sign Berggren, you have a better opportunity to trade him to a different team if you need more money somewhere, or you could trade some other player, right? So, but for Moritz Seider and Lucas Raymond, I'm going to have to go on the no side. I don't think that they'll be signed before Wednesday. I think it's going to be the day of camp or later on that week going into the weekend. I don't know why. That's just my feeling. But if you're worried, let us know down in the comments. We would like to hear from you if you guys think that all 3 of these players will be signed before training camp starts, which is on the 19th, this upcoming Thursday. We're recording Sunday, 9/15, 2024. It is currently 6:13 p.m. So majority of you are saying yes, but I'd like to hear you guys down in the comments. So go ahead and jump right into there. And then, Derek, let's go ahead and talk about some of the around the league news. There's not really much, but we'll just kind of touch on this. A little update about the drink driving incident that unfortunately took the lives of Matt and John Gaudreau. The man who did struck them with their vehicle while drunk driving is being held without bail and is facing 20 years, believing in prison, I believe is what it is. So yeah, good.
A little lackluster if you ask about me, but yeah, drunk driving and you got vehicular manslaughter, but it's only 20 years in prison at max. Not something I like to see for something like that, but I don't know the law like I guess someone else does, so take that as you will. Everything comes with a grain of salt in conversations like this, so
they sure do. Yeah, it's a lot of gray area. In other news, Max Pacioretty does have a potential professional tryout as well, I guess you can call it, with the Toronto Maple Leafs. So it was kind of all smoke, potentially going to the Detroit Red Wings. Derek, are you upset by this?
No, for some reason, I am not upset with not having Max Pacioretty. I mean, even at a professional tryout, for some reason, I'm just not too butthurt over that.
If this was 5 years ago, I'd probably be a little upset, yes. But I would agree with you and majority of the fans. It does seem like that Max Pacioretty not coming to the Detroit Red Wings on a professional tryout is a bullet dodged. Sunday Scaries, I can't speak. Y'all love it. Y'all hear it every single weekend. Enjoy. It's horrible.
Plus, it hasn't changed every week for the last month and a half. Zach's just struggling every day. It's okay. Oh. We all are.
Lots of sports today. Hey, Detroit Lions and then 2 hockey games this weekend. It's great. So, Derek, with that, let's go ahead and jump into the main topic, which we are showing below here for the rundown. It is the Red Wings Prospect Tournament. And this year, Derek, it's completely different. Only 1 team showed up and for 2 games. Usually there's like 3, maybe 4. It has been dwindling down as the years come along. And to be honest, I feel like the only reason why they still currently have it is because of Jim Neal. He must really love Traverse City to force all of his prospects to go and come here to play. But I mean, it's a fantastic time to go. I enjoyed it the one time that I went last year. You know, once again, if you ever have the opportunity just to go to Traverse City, go ahead and check it out. Beautiful city. Go to the whiskey company that's there too. They have some really good stuff. The Traverse City Whiskey Company. So, Derek, let's go ahead and jump into game 1. And I am going to pull up the lineup here for game 1. And let's see. The top line was Ryklowski. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Pardon me if I'm saying these wrong. Nate Danielson, MBN, Michael Branzig, Nygaard. Second line, Hunter Johannes, Amadeus Lombardi, Alexander Dossett. Third line, Gabriel Seeger, Emmett Finney, Boria Vallis. And then fourth line, Carson Bantley, I think. I don't know. Braden Edwards, Charlie Paquette. And then on defense, your top pair, Shai Bulliam, Matthew Virgilio. Oh, I'm so sorry, dude. Marcus Kiersey, Josh Van Mulligan, Blake Smith, Bauer Demansky. And then the goalies were Carter Gylander and Landon Miller. I do want to give a quick shout out to Carter Gylander because he ended up playing goalie for both games. He did a fantastic job, so I'm just going to put that right out there off the get-go. But Derek, what do you think of that top line of Ryklowski, Nate Danielson, and MBN? First thoughts on that.
I mean, from the first thoughts, it sounds like a really fun line to watch. Let's be honest. With our 2 number 1 overall picks and Ryklowski coming in from overseas, It was something I was interested in watching yesterday, and let me tell you, it was kind of boring until the third period, but
It was. Yeah, it really was. And then Derek, real quick, what were your thoughts on the second line? I really didn't think about it until the game actually took place, but did you have any opinions on that second line? Did you have any expectations for them going in?
I mean, it was nice to see the two guys that got some AHL experience up in the American Hockey League. They were doing really well last year, so it was nice. I kind of expected them to do a little bit better in the camp this year, especially with Lombardi. I'm pretty sure he got called in mainly due to injuries, that something happened like that, which I was A-okay with because I've always had high expectations for this kid, even though he is small, not the biggest stature, but man, what a 200-foot player. And him and Johannes and Dosset out there, like, as you can tell from just the stats alone, they literally just took over this 2-game tournament. Fantastic. But before that, with them coming in, I really didn't have much expectations. I can't really lie. Lombardi, I know, is a good player. Dosset, good player, but to see what they actually did out there, the amount of effort and work they put in, I was impressed by that second line. That was probably the show line of the entire tournament.
Yeah, and for those who are not familiar with Hunter Johannes, he is 6'3", 209 pounds. So he's the big boy who was on that second line, because Lombardi and Dosset really aren't the biggest players. I believe they're right around 6 feet tall, definitely under 200 pounds, I believe. But yeah, he played a couple games with the Grand Rapids Griffins last season. He played about 6. He came from the University of North Dakota. He put up, in 31 games, he put up 12 goals, 7 assists for 19 points. But I believe, and he doesn't have a contract, right? So I believe that this is a player who deserves a contract with the Grand Rapids Griffins or even the Toledo Walleye. I think that this is someone that you could keep in the system. He's 26 years old, born in 1998. So you can have a couple of those older players on the team, right? So I thought he played a magnificent tournament overall. So Derek, I guess before we spill any more beans, let's just go ahead and jump into it. Overall, I do just want to at least say this on a couple players. Finney looked really good in that first period of the first game. William looks like that he has a clap bomb, so maybe there's some offensive potential that we have yet to see. And I'm really excited for him to showcase that in Grand Rapids this year, kind of moving over from the University of Denver. In the first period, there were no goals scored. As Derek said, it was pretty boring up until the third period comes along. The Wings do tie it in the third, 1-1, by a goal from Charlie Paquette, scoring right after the faceoff and going towards a slot for the shot and goal. Johannes lays a big hit and should be a great addition to DRG. Like I just said, I do feel like that there's a lot of chemistry there between Lombardi, Dosset. So if you can fit all three of those players on the line in Grand Rapids Griffins, I think that that would be a great line to have. He's a big body player. Emmett Finney, slick with the moves to take it to the net, and Seager puts it in to make it 2-1. Derek, he essentially just turned on the jets, broke down that defender, put the puck between his legs, tried to put the puck in, almost did, and then it was shoved in there by Seager. So I don't know if you saw the replay of that. You were watching the game, though. Do you remember that goal? And what did you think about it?
Oh, dude, just watching Emmett Finney these last couple of games has just been a great interpretation of how well the Red Wings can actually draft later in the rounds. Like, holy crap, this kid is blowing my expectations out the water. And not only because his name is literally my dog's name, so good for him.
No, that's so funny. I feel like that you're going to get his jersey if he does end up becoming a Detroit Red Wing, just because he has the same name as your dog. So,
oh, that'll be Sarah getting that jersey. Don't worry.
Continuing on with that, the Red Wings at that point were leading 2-1, like I just said. Then making it 3-1 thanks to Nate Danielson winning in the faceoff, who then gave it to Shai Buyam, who gives it the MBN for the wicked shot. And then Ryklowski is there to put the puck in the net to finish it off. And then the Wings lead 3-1 in the third period. And then I'm bringing up Buyam again. These are just my notes. I'm just reading you guys off my notes. I was just going AWOL with everything because I'm trying to screenshot all these videos and then sharing them for you guys on Twitter and stuff like that. But yeah, Buyam is really good with the puck and protecting it. He played really good that first game, to be honest. I was not expecting him to just be so fluent at protecting the puck. But once again, I'm going to go back to his shot. I mean, he's got a hard shot. If he can utilize that a little bit more, I think we can unlock some offensive potential out of that player. So that's going to be awesome if we can get that unlocked, like I just mentioned. Wings get a takeaway middle of the ice, and Ammo passes back to Dossett and makes it 4-1. And then Dossett scores an empty net goal, makes it 5-1 with 3 minutes left. Red Wings win game 1 of the 2 of the prospect tournament. Derek, I went to the polls on Twitter and I asked the fans who was the number 1 star of game 1 of the prospect tournament. In your mind, who was the number 1 star of the first game of the prospect tournament?
Ooh, that's a good one. I saw a lot of guys standing out that game, and I have not looked at what the polls were saying, so I am just going off of what I watched in the last 2 periods of that game, because I missed the first period, but I'm not upset by that, because obviously I didn't miss much. I'm going to go with Dossett on this one. Dossett or Lombardi, whichever one of those two. I'm going 50-50. One might win.
Yeah, I mean, those were the 3 players that I threw up on the poll. And then the 4th one was other. Leave a comment if you figured that some other player was the number 1 star. But that was the question. Who do you think came out as the number 1 star in game 1 of the Detroit Red Wings prospect tournament? Out of 70 votes, 44% of the voters said Amadeus Lombardi, 23% said Dossett, 20% said Bouillon, and then 13% said other. I threw Bouillon in there because he did get an assist and because of his ability to be able to shut down the game and protect the puck. I thought that he played a magnificent game. Dossett also, all 3 of those players played a really great game. Overall, those probably would have been my top 3 picks, as I commented to someone who I was interacting with on there. Yeah, I went Ammo, Dossett, and Bouillon for my top 3. So, yeah, I deserving most, I would say probably Ammo. I think he played the most pivotal role out there. He was playing center at times too. So going in there. So yeah, all 3 of those players, honestly, you could have picked for number 1 possibly, but if I had to give it to someone, it probably would have been Amadeus Lombardi. And so Derek, we then hop into today. We're recording late because we wanted to watch the second game. We thought it was pretty half-assed if we only talked about the one game.
One game, then like, well, go watch the next one that's happening in probably 30 minutes after we finish recording. Have fun.
Yep. And then the second game, MBN was not in the lineup, so the lines did change a little bit. They did put Emmett Finney up there on the top line. The second line stays exactly the same, which is awesome. That second line dominated again the second game, which is fantastic. Emmett Finney, I thought he looked fine up there, but do you have any takes on MBN being on a lineup? Do you think it was just a precaution thing? Do you think it was just to give him rest, or do you think maybe they were just like, get out of here, kid? Because he had a couple shots on net. I didn't pay too close of attention to him, but I thought he played all right.
I'd say for his first game over here, playing against similar caliber, lower caliber players, he did pretty well for what I was expecting. I mean, obviously, I feel like the Red Wings are most likely trying to keep him on the back burner so he doesn't burn himself out right away for camp coming up here, which is really where they want to see him at, especially explore his expertise, his talents, and whatnot. So it makes sense why they pulled him out. I feel like he's one of those top players besides Danielson who has one of the bigger chances of making the lineup. So I get why. I wish I could have saw him a little bit more. It literally took me probably halfway through the second of listening to the game to realize, oh, that's okay. Finney's at the top line. Oh, that makes sense why I haven't heard from NBN this entire game. He's not playing. I thought he was just really quiet. I was like, nope, it's okay. He's just not out there. That makes me feel a little bit better. But I understand it. It is what it is. And Finney had a great first games, enough to really jump him up 2 lines. So I'm not too upset with the lineup change. I did pretty well from all accounts today. So
Yeah, in regards to MBN, I would say it's more of a precaution thing. He's already played in quite a few number of games so far leading up to this training camp or the prospect tournament. Then they expect him to go into training camp. So I'm sure it was just more of a rest thing than anything. And also just kind of see from a bird's eye view on how the game looks, right? And there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing either of those, right? So I think it was just more of a thing to let him kind of learn a little bit more and just just get some rest, get an extra day's worth of rest, and then go into training camp, knock the socks off, make the roster opening night. So there we go. But all right. Yeah, with that being said, yeah, that second line absolutely dominated because Johannes is able to find the space, high slot for the shot, and Dosette puts it in the rebound. 1-0 Wings in the first period. This game was a lot slower than the first game, Derek. There was a goal pretty much every period, which was awesome, but a little different than the first game, obviously. But then Dosette and Johannes continued the chemistry, making it 2-1 in the second. And then Emmett Finney scores on the power play in the third to make it 3-1. Danielson was the puck facilitator during this power play sequence with some nice passing overall. He was passing it to the defenseman. He was getting it back. He fed it over into the slot. The player in the slot handed it over to Dosette or to Emmett Finney, I must say, and ripped it right into the net. So good lucks on all those players for getting the job done. Dallas did score with like 3 seconds left at the end of the period, making it 3-2, but Wings went undefeated in their own prospect tournament. Good for them.
Good looks, boys.
T for 2 and 2 for T. Yes, the Detroit Red Wings went undefeated in their prospect tournament. And Derek, we did the exact same thing where we asked who was the number 1 star in this game. And the poll's not over. I posted it an hour ago. But who do you think came out as the number 1 star in game 2 of the Detroit Red Wings prospect tournament? If you had to pick.
Well, surprise to anybody who can't even, where is it at? There it is. Can't even see that I don't even have a hashtag down here. I don't get on social media enough lately. So I haven't seen what Zach posted as his top, but man, from what I watched, and we got to listen to because I was in the car half the game, the other half I was watching on my phone, so that was a lot of fun in between driving. So, but from what I saw, Lombardi again being up there, but I probably wouldn't put him number 1. I think Johannes was probably just ungodly good this game. I don't even know how many shots he had, probably like 4 or 5 or 6 out there, just ripping them every time. He was making some great plays. Lombardi being that nice 200-foot center this game, it was amazing to watch, going back and forth, being able to tackle the people on the rush back, being able to go right back into the attack on the forwards. I'm going to go Johannes on this one just because I think that would be my top pick. Again, from what Zach put, it might be different. And from what all you pick, it could be different. But from what I saw, the 26-year-old showed up this day.
I would have to agree with you, Derek, if I had to pick someone. I guess I could say this. I'll just answer it. Yes, I would agree with you. Johannes would have been my number 1 star for this game. The 3 players that I put on here were Dosette, Johannes, and Danielson. And then for the 4th, I put leave a comment. Someone mentioned Rykovsky. But out of the 54 votes so far within the hour, 39%, and this leads it, 39% of the voters have said Nate Danielson, and that leads the poll. Second is Dosette with 30%, and then Johannes 28%. I could see why people said Danielson. Danielson playing the number 1 center spot in this prospect tournament. He played a really good game in the second game. He was winning the key faceoffs. He was stripping pucks from players, making moves. And then he ended up getting an assist this game. I believe he was credited for the assist on the 3rd goal. So, yeah, I have no reason to doubt people for selecting Nate Danielson as the number 1 star. My personal choice would have been Johansson, much like yours, Derek, because it goes back to his size. He was getting in front of people and he was kind of roughing them up a little bit, hitting them, and then, just doing what he needed to do, being a fluid skater and then putting the puck in the net, or at least in high danger shooting angles, places, whatever the word is here. The words are hard for me today, everyone. But you understand what I'm saying here. But yeah, no, that's what everyone's saying so far, is that Nate Danielson was by far the number one star of the second game, which I can't disagree with that overall. But Derek, overall, if you had to pick one player who the number one star is of this tournament, who would it be?
Ooh, the number one star. I mean, point production wise, Dosette probably just outdoes everybody out there. I think he has 3 goals, 1 assist for 4 points in the 2 games. He did great out there. I wish I saw a little more of NBN. Danielson, like you said, I understand where he got voted number one for this game. More so over just that one move that he literally broke the play up in the defensive zone, deked around the other defender, and almost got a shot onto that corner. I was like, yeah, Ken Cal called it pretty well that was probably the most NHL move of this entire tournament, which pretty much states his actual what he can do out there if he's surrounded by the right people and he gets his skills honed in. I understand exactly why Danielson would be number one up there for today, but for the whole tournament, I think Lombardi, man. I think Lombardi did freaking amazing out there. He literally got my attention even when I wasn't able to watch it. That's the only name that kept popping out from Ken Cal's mouth the entire time was Lombardi. Lombardi, 200-foot player, going back and forth. Look at that skill. I'm like, I feel like the kid was pushing hard. He wasn't even supposed to be at this tournament. He's like, well, let me show you what I can actually do. And he came out and produced like I was hoping. Boy, of course, like we've said before, he's a little on the small end, but like 5'10", 100, and hopefully 80 pounds now. Last time I saw was like 175. Hopefully getting a little bit bigger, which I understand why he gets bounced around a little bit more being that small out there. But kid put his work in. He put the effort in. If he just throws on a couple more pounds, I feel like we might have a nice force to reckon with coming up through the AHL because he's definitely going to be there. And he's going to be knocking at the door. So my vote is Lombardi for this tournament.
Yeah, if I had to pick one player, it's going to be Amadeus Lombardi for sure. I'm going to go right there with you. I'm going to pick Ammo too. The honorable mention, I would say, is Johannes and Dosat. Overall, go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say that whole second line. Yeah. There's a reason it didn't change the entire tournament. It just looked that good.
It really did. They were, I don't know if that was because they just really outplayed Dallas's second line or whatever line that they were putting up against them, but they overly dominated, at least in my opinion, this tournament. They did a really good job. But you want to know who I think really won overall, Derek, is the Detroit Red Wings. I think they got to see a lot out of these players that they let them go and have their off seasons. There was probably a lot of question marks on a lot of these players. I think Amadeus Lombardi was a huge surprise. I think Emmett Finney surprised a lot of people too. Nate Danielson came as advertised. I think that he can handle playing in a top 6 role in Grand Rapids this upcoming season. NBN was probably the biggest name to watch in game 1, obviously, because no one had seen him play in North America outside of after the draft, right? When they did I don't know why I can't think of it, the prospect after draft training camp, whatever they call it. You guys know what the hell I'm talking about. Yeah, I got it, Derek. Yeah, I got it. Slow your roll.
I'm not going to argue it. You know what you're talking about. You don't need to name it.
Yeah, but I thought MBN probably came as advertised too. I mean, he's got a wicked shot, man. Every shot that he took, the goalie couldn't hold it to save his life. Right. I mean, he's got heaters out there. Wish I could have seen a little bit more out of him. It did look like that he was not super quick out there. Not saying that he's like one of the fastest players. And I don't know if it's because of jet lag or because of like he just got done playing in Swedish Hockey League preseason games, and then playing Olympic pre-qualifiers. He played in some of those too, which I said on last episode, I thought that probably would have given him an advantage going into the prospect tournament and training camp. I don't want to say that I was proved wrong, but I guess maybe I was expecting a little bit more out of him. What are your thoughts on that, Derek?
I mean, 18 years old, I didn't really expect too much out of his first camp. Obviously, there's a lot of hype around him, and he did have a lot more time to get his skills honed in before this game even started, obviously. But I feel like he just has to get used to the ice, get used to the playing style. It's going to be a little different moving over here to North America, trying to get all that stuff honed in right away. he's played 0 games so far on American style ice. That was his first one in the prospect tournament. So we can't expect too much of someone getting honed in for those skills. Obviously, he ended up with 1 assist, 1 clap bomb that got redirected, and I forget who put that one away. Was it Seeger? We'll go with that.
Ryklowski put it in.
Okay, Ryklowski. Yeah, okay. The people that were on the same line, that makes a lot more sense, actually. But we'll just walk away from that. He came as advertised. Great shot. I feel like he was just getting used to it out there. Obviously, probably a little tired, trying to get accustomed to the ice. So I'm okay with what I saw. Obviously, I wanted to see a little bit more. If I would have saw like a hat trick in the first game, I'd have been like, that's what I was hoping for. That's what we all wanted to see. Obviously, it can be completely different coming into training camp. He could blow the doors off the water in there. So we don't really know. A little lackluster for my thought process, but I don't think he did terrible in general. So not bad.
Yeah, overall, I'm going to go back to what I said. I think the Detroit Red Wings won overall. They got a lot of questions answered, I believe, and some of these younger guys, like players like Amadeus Lombardi, can take a step. I think they got to see more of Hunter Johannes. We talked about how he had a pretty good stint with the team not too long ago on that after draft thing. I believe he was actually at that. I think I could be wrong. Yeah, I think he looks really good. I think the Red Wings definitely need to sign him. Emmett Finney looks good. I don't think he's going to be with Grand Rapids or with Toledo. He's going back to Kamloops, I believe. And then Nate Danielson, once again, he showed that he can play top 6. So, and he looks really good on the faceoffs and being able to facilitate the puck and kind of or drive the play overall, especially in a power play situation. So I'm not saying that you put him in power play 1 for the Grand Rapids, but if you put him on power play 2 and you need that type of player that can facilitate and drive the play when they are in the offensive zone, that's Nate Danielson right there. So that's great to have that. I think Grand Rapids Griffins fans should be really excited, and so should Red Wings fans. This showcased us that, much like how Derek said, we're doing pretty well at drafting some of these players later in the rounds. It's not always, yes, you got to hit on your first rounds, but you got to hit on some of the other rounds too. And we've seen players like Elmer Soderblom, Carter Mazer. Now it's players like Amadeus Lombardi, Emmett Finney, and some of these other players that we didn't even have to draft, right? That are coming in and showcasing to us that they're hell of players. They're really freaking good at hockey. And so there's a lot to be excited for, Derek. And I hope the fans are too. The viewers, the watchers, the listeners, let us know who you guys think was the #1 overall player from this year's Detroit Red Wings prospect tournament of 2024. Also, let us know what you guys think who the #1 star of the first game was and the second game. But you can let us know overall as well. And let us know what your thoughts are on Michael Brandzak-Nygaard, his first showcase on North American ice outside of after being drafted to that prospect pool party thing out on the ice, whatever they call it. Yeah, words are hard for me, everyone. I'm so sorry. Hopefully you guys at least struggled at that. Welcome to Sunday Scaries. My name is Zach, and this is Derek. And Derek, I think that's about it, buddy. So unless you got anything else, we can go ahead and jump into our final thoughts. And did I just scare you with what I just said? Oh my goodness.
I looked at time and it only says 44 minutes. So I am kind of terrified that it only took this amount of time for us today. So it got me a little taken back there, but I literally have nothing else. I tried desperately to find any other news of anything going on, but man, it's really just been prospect tournaments this week, and that's everything anyone's been looking forward to. So I think it was a good weekend in general.
Hockey's back, baby.
Hockey's back. 2 Red Wings wins. RIP to the Lions today. It's okay. You can't win them all. You should, but you can't. It's okay. Whatever. Just win the fuck. I was like, I won't cuss yet. Just win the Super Bowl championship and we're good. That's all we need. And then the Red Wings will follow suit soon. I don't want to say this year. I'm just going to say soon. We'll follow suit.
Soon. Yeah, Jared Goff, it's your fault that we lost the game today for the Detroit Lions, but we still love you. They'll still make chance at Little Caesars Arena for you. Yeah, my final thoughts are let's go Red Wings, let's go Grand Rapids, let's go Toledo Walleye, let's go Detroit Lions. Just come back better next weekend. Really excited for training camp upcoming. Hopefully we get news about Lucas Raymond, Mo Seider, Jan and Tim Berggren signing their contracts and being forever Red Wings. And until next time, we'll see y'all on the next one. See ya.
Bye, y'all. Good luck,
Hit the
Carlo.
subscribe button. Hit the thumbs up button. Don't forget, it's free.